way you came, or you can go back through this curtain and follow the exit signs out the back of the building. Please do take a moment now to silence your cell phones if you have not done so already, and please no flash photography or recording. To learn more about what we do here at the Crane and as all of Frigid, you can visit our website, frigid.nyc. Without further ado, enjoy the show.
Just give me 1 hour and please just stop calling me. Man, I love this bar. It is so empty. Wow, I feel like talking. I feel like talking, you know? Like I'm pissed, but it's fine. I'm fine. I fucking love being a woman. I love it. It rocks so hard. Wait, is this like okay to be talking to my bartender? I need a bartender. Oh, you're my bartender. Come here. I got some coconut rum. Disgusting. Yeah, come here. I need you to pour it. I look like a loser if I pour it myself. What's your name? Uma. Uma? Yeah. Thanks. Like, yeah. You've done this before. Thank you so much. Feels so nice being candid with my bartender. I'm from California. I love summer nights. Do you ever think of yourself as like an animal? Like I think I'm a bird. Like I've always wanted to be like, oh, I'm flying, bitch. I'm just this funky little Jewish bird. I know we don't know each other outside this bar. It's just you're here, I'm here, and today sucked. You know, like you always have this nice expression on your face at this bar. It's like a sweet little baby flamingo. It's just kind of nice to talk to someone who isn't in your world, you know? There was this one hot summer in California, and if we're talking in animals, then me, a bird, I gave out. My wings, they just gave out. I had this reeling in my head, and I felt sick to my stomach, but I still flew to work, because I was broke, and I'm sick in the head. I think I just thought, my period is bad, but I was 16, and every period was just as horrible. But like, this wasn't the same pain, because period pain is like, I want some salt before I try killing myself. This wasn't it. And I have really heavy periods, but I'm always so happy when they come, because I have a lot of unprotected sex with my boyfriend, and so I'll be like leaned over with a bottle of Advil next to me thinking, thank you, God. This wasn't it though. I was feeling like sick to my stomach, but I went to the post behind the sushi restaurant I worked at. I was helping customers, and I sat down, and the manager, she was pissed. She was like, stand up, why are you sitting down, lazy girl? And I kind of stood without protesting, you know, typical 16-year-old bird, and I immediately felt myself blacking out. So I went out the restaurant's doors, I turned left, then for about 2 feet, just absolutely released my broken insides all over the restaurant's planters. And then after throwing up, I drove home, I went to bed that night, but I woke up at 3 a.m. by my own groaning, and the deer drove me to the ER. You know, she was there when she had to be. Oh, the deer. The deer gave birth to me. I am the offspring of the deer. I am the identical genetic makeup of the deer, but I am bird. Okay, we get it. Appendicitis. A part of my body was vacuumed from my belly button that morning. I asked them if I could keep it, but apparently they don't give you your appendix in a jar. Prudes. I love going under anesthesia, right? Because I play these games with myself each night. It's like, Bird, you have to go to sleep. All right, Bird, now stop thinking about the fact that you'll be asleep. Okay, you could die in your sleep. Anesthesia just doesn't let you play games like that. Like, I remember I was getting my wisdom teeth out, and I was having this normal conversation with the dentist, and then the next minute, I was waking up talking about the Obamas. Okay, I guess I'm always thinking about them. So when I got my appendix out, the nurse, she was asking me to respond, and I said something, but I couldn't open my eyes. I felt so fucking nauseous. I felt like I was in a washing machine. Like, have you ever seen Stuart Little, the movie? Yeah, the mouse gets trapped in the washing machine. Yeah, yeah, we're grown women. We've seen Stuart Little. And then they brought me dinner in my hospital room that night, even though I wasn't allowed to eat. And I have never seen hospital mac and cheese look so fucking good. It's like Kraft box mac and cheese. It's not even real cheese, but yum. Okay, I know I've talked about Kraft box mac and cheese and Stuart Little all in 1 minute time span, but I swear I am a grown woman. I'm such a grown woman, in fact, that I've made my own latkes. Like, grated the fucking potatoes myself like a pioneer woman. I didn't actually learn how to cook till I was 19, and if you're doing the math in your head, yeah, that was 2 years ago. I have something here. It's fake ID. It says I'm from West Virginia and 23. I know I don't only seem 21. Well, that's what people tell me, but for as long as I can remember, I've been on my own. Since the 3rd grade, I'd wake up to my own alarm. I'd pop Eggo waffles into my toaster in my lonely kitchen, and I'd say, "Huzzah! Nothing like learning about addition after an inflammatory breakfast." Yeah, I don't eat gluten now. I'm gluten-free. Not to be a dick, though. I have an autoimmune disease, and nobody really knows what an autoimmune disease is, but I'm in chronic pain all the time, so I have to try things like I've tried CBD, and I'll tell you, I put it in my coffee every morning, and it really does nothing. So I have to cope, you know? I like smoking so much weed that I get a panic attack, and now all my pain's up here. Just transferred from body to mind. Or like sex. One time I fucked with heart monitor patches on. Can you say that? That's what I thought. My dirty talk, it's more like, fuck me till I flatline. They never do. I think it was about 3 weeks I couldn't lift myself up because my abdomen was temporarily out of order. The deer was there. There was a night that I thought maybe things would change between the species of bird and deer, because we weren't even on the same plane, right? Like, deer, mostly on land, bird, were mostly flying all the time, but then she opened up to me in a way that I let in. Like, we talked about how hard it is to be a woman. We've got sexual harassment, wage gap, pressure to act like you like wine night with the ladies. Obviously the worst one. And then she told me a story of a father in a neighborhood she was a teenager in, and it made me feel like I wanted to open up to her. Oh my god, is this appropriate? A bisexual Jew walks into a bar and talks about the patriarchy. I'm just a slutty little Jewish bitch with a one-woman show. Ooh. Alright. That's great. That's fucking fantastic. You know, I'm a bird. My wings, they have beautiful colors in them. They're pink, blue, orange, green. They've always been this fucking bright because I moved across country away from everyone I fucking know, and I am brilliant. I am brave. My pussy is power. My ooh. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so the deer, the gazelle, and the bird, we used to call it the gorilla face. The gazelle. She's like me, but she's older, but also not like me at all, but she's still cool. She's actually the manager of a wild bear program in Washington. I asked her if I could visit them, and she's like, yeah, you can meet the bears. And I was like, what will that look like? I show up, and they're like, hi, I've heard so much about you. We were like 3 weak animals running in a pack. As soon as we'd see the gorilla appear, his fists would be clenched. His body assumed this bullshit physique of, I'm stronger than you. He had this lock stare in his piercing blue eyes, but he was already so intimidating at 6'5". Then you couldn't look into his eyes. In fear, he'd start pounding his chest and lunge towards you. It was a pretty chill childhood. I don't know what age I realized this. Maybe I was 10, but I could somehow know that the gorilla could sense weakness. I think he thought the gazelle was weak. You could count each circle on the back of her spine. Her shoulders were always hunched over. He'd scream at her, you'll end up in a brace for the rest of your life if you don't straighten them goddamn shoulders out. We've always felt awesome about our bodies. The gorilla was from Lake Hughes, California. He had like a southern accent, but he grew up in the middle of nowhere in California. I don't know if this accent was like some sort of irony or he actually thought he was a cowboy. I grew up raising chicken and horses and like he talked about his dad like he was the king. I don't know, I feel like there's this shitty culture of men idolizing their dads for being big, tough, and emotionally abusive men. And he talked about his gorilla father using a belt on him, and then he later used that on us. And to be fair, that was before belts were taboo. Right? We all think he buried someone alive once. We have no proof, but I think it just makes sense with all boomer dads who've never been to therapy. There's one time in middle school, the whole pack, we went to my best friend's house for dinner. My best friend, she was like this beautiful swan because she had this 3-story country-style home, her tidy Christian family, and then there was us. The gorilla had a mouth of a sailor. He arrived to the dinner with a soap bar around his neck. He thought this metaphor was so clever and topped any dinner wine he could have brought instead. He was charming, you know. I could see why the deer thought maybe for a brief moment he was someone she could spend the rest of her life with. His gimmick to cross boundaries and present this unapologetic demeanor attracted people. The gorilla would come home from work each night, and then for the rest of the night he'd sit on the couch stoned out of his mind, watch something on the TV with either huge guns or huge tits in it. Sometimes we were lucky and it was both. And then I was naive to think that when sex scenes came on that he forgot I was sitting right there, which was weird because then I just thought porn was cable TV, so then SpongeBob was just super boring. Then we got a grasp of what reality actually was. Like, he doesn't know a damn thing about horses. He was pretty boring, just like everyone else in our hometown. or so I thought, because we actually had a lot of Mormons and their Mormon rapist dads, which was weird because we lived close to the beach, so there was just like a lot of blonde boys who loved Jesus, surfing, and raping. In high school, I dated a Mormon guy, and now he's a gay Instagram influencer. I should have seen the red flags, because I don't know if you know this, but Mormons believe that when you die, you get your own planet, and that's some gay shit. Me and my gay friends would be like, bitch, when I'm dead, I will have my own planet, and you will not fucking be on it. The gorilla was an independent construction worker. He got married, he had kids, and I don't know what that was for, maybe just like the image of it, because he always had this chip on his shoulder, and then he famously passed that chip along to 3 other women. I never liked chips, except for Doritos. The deer, she was from Westlake Village, California. She could gamble through chaotic forests, foraging for food without getting caught. She didn't have this violent nature, but then she'd run in front of cars in the middle of the night with her babies trailing behind her. Legend has it, the gazelle was wounded by the new attention the baby bird was given. There are photos of me out in my front lawn. My wings are sprawled out, there's rose petals around me, I was wearing a flower crown, a little dress exposing my sweet little baby legs. Dude, I look like a fucking Manson girl. Then the gazelle watched out the window with tears streaming down her face as she watched them snap photo after photo of their new cult member. Lucky for her, that's not how it always was. Like, was I always looking for attention? Yeah. But I didn't necessarily get it from my pack. The deer, she tried to be good in my young years. She was funny in a way that you'd think she'd turn out normal because she comes from the stable family, but shit happens. She was raised by a Jewish actor and dancer who would later sell their souls to the travel agency. So that means she got to see the world young, but her nose did not. A nose job was gifted to her, mazel tov. And then they paid for college, and by that I mean she didn't have to worry about money while she was doing cocaine in San Diego. And then she had us. I don't really know what happened in between, to be honest, but I do remember as a baby bird, she laid down a blanket in the middle of our childhood home's living room. She placed me in the middle of it, and then I watched her gamble out of the room. Our home was just messy and outdated. We weren't poor, we were broke, until it was the deer and I. Then we were poor, but rich with personality. I just somehow remember as a baby screeching every time she passed me off from her deer hooves to someone else's. So I think the next thing I did was sort of an act of revenge. I opened my diaper, and it was described to me as, you were going to town eating your own shit. The deer re-entered the room, and she just screamed bloody murder. She picked me up from under my armpits, guiding me to the sink. She was holding me like I was a full bowl of hot soup she was bringing to someone in the kitchen. I guess being neglectful will always give you some shit to clean up. The deer had this black hole she never could fill. Like, I desperately wanted to fill that black hole, but nothing worked. And then in middle school, we started that show together, Desperate Housewives. And I remember watching it and being like, this is great. This should fill the black hole. Then by age 14, I inherited a full-grown adult with manic depression while picking up the broken pieces that afternoon in high school geometry. I like to think that's the reason I got a C, but come on. I remember one afternoon after failing all my tests, My geometry teacher knelt down next to my desk and she said, "Kylie, you are doing a great job." And I thought to myself, what the fuck is she talking about? Turns out the deer had been spiraling and she emailed all of my teachers that my dad had just left. So that was a cool way to pass math. The gorilla would scream and throw things. One time he got into the gazelle's face, he grabbed onto her shirt and said, "Are you fucking stupid?" And I was 12, but I knew he was dangerous. But I also knew he had a weakness. So I puffed up my chest and I said with girth in my voice, "Hey, don't you talk to her like that." And then I felt my right arm boomerang back and my fist met his pacemaker. It was as if my fist whispered to his fake heart, "You pussy." Then the gorilla towered over me, he looked at me, and he smirked. The gorilla respected the bird. I once claimed it was a scientific fact that I was the gorilla's favorite and the gazelle was the deer's because it made sense to me and still kind of does. Like the gorilla, he's handsome. He has eyes like the ocean, height like a skyscraper, hair is dark on a cloudy day, much like me. Hollywood cameras would turn us away, but New York City would put a cigarette in our mouth and call us art. The deer is desirable. She's like a trophy. Then she had this beauty, but her depression would learn to eat at her beauty inside and out, and she would find it on the outside, but kept ignoring it on the inside. And much like the gazelle, needles and ink were never pierced through their skin, colors of rebellion were never bleached through their scalp, their beauty could be seen universally. I could have been a gazelle. Maybe the day I felt my fist up against the ferocious animal's fraudulent heart, I grew wings. You know, because I was an animal amongst a pack only seeking land. I started by cutting my hair and darkening it because I wanted to change. I wanted to physically demonstrate to the world that I was different. I didn't need land. Why am I not a monkey then? No, you see, I can't be a monkey or a gorilla or whatever. I can't, and I haven't even told you the worst part, but I have no idea how else to tell you that I'm not him. It all started when I would awaken myself to my own blood-curdling screams, just stuck on my sheets from the wet of my own anxiety. Night after night, these dreams filled with terror, always presenting a challenge to survive. Swimming from deadly sharks, there were 4, 6, 8, 10, swimming in this clear blue ocean in a perfect formation, and then suddenly I felt my arms move back and forth, and then I just forgot how to breathe. It was like weights on my chest, and I didn't know how to relieve it. Then a man stands at my doorway, and I struggled in my bed, but I just forgot how to move. One morning I woke up with blankets tangled around my neck, my face had turned blue. I guess I struggled too intensely through the night of a fear that wasn't even real. Yet there was this danger in my most comfortable places of everyday life. Come to find out, this wasn't some dream. There are girls like me everywhere, frozen, forgotten how to scream. Maybe forget isn't the right word because I physically could not scream. My body, please please, you know what you're supposed to do. Please, please help. But, no matter how much you beg and plead, your body will make mistakes. And one day you'll learn to forgive it. Like, one day you'll learn to feel every touch, to heal from trespassers, to receive pleasure from your own temple and God. When you do, you will thank yourself. Thank you for coming. That's probably the last time I say come tonight. That's why I'm a bird. I had to fly above all of that. So, the night my appendix burst, I was just trying to connect with the deer. Mom, I don't know if this is true, and it disgusts me to say it out loud. I remember struggling to continue because I was 16 and I had never shared this with anyone. The gorilla got into bed with me, and it didn't feel right. She didn't really flinch. That's normal. By the way, you look really skinny today. She didn't have an ounce of severity in her voice, and also, she didn't say the last part. But she did say it's normal for young girls to have thoughts like that. The conversation ended. I felt nothing. I think she was just in shock because she feels bad for that today. And I love her and I understand. About a year later, I went to college. It was my one of only 2 semesters of college, and I got into car with some random chimpanzees from my university. Yeah, all men are monkeys. We smoked out of a gravity bong. I wasn't a huge smoker, but I was just like desperately trying to get away from my performing arts dorm hall. It's like they sing Hairspray every night. I needed a fucking break. Then I looked over and I realized something. I am a female bird alone in a car with 2 chimpanzees I barely knew. Then it made me imagine this scenario where my sister is answering a phone call that I was found raped and dead in a university parking lot in a pile of snow, and then the thought made me panic. The thought told me I needed to leave this car. Get up, please, get up. And then finally, 15 minutes later, I found myself standing outside of the car, and then without saying a word, I just started running. And I was running really fast, and I could feel the weight of my snow boots weighing me down, and I looked behind my shoulder, and the chimpanzees are running after me. They're like, and I was like, oh, I gotta run faster, and then I ran faster, and then I went to my dorm, and then they eventually gave up. But I was like, paralleling childhood molestation to a college night of smoking. That's absurd. Or is it? So then the next day, I realized there's something deeply wrong with me. Like, I am more paranoid of being raped than any other average woman on this planet. Oh God, should I be saying that word aloud? Nah, you're right. Women get raped. It's not my fault women get raped. Rape. Rape. Alright, that was weird, sorry. So then, a week after that, I went and I saw my therapist. I'd been seeing her on and off for about 3 years. She was a seasonal pass holder to the zoo. Then for the very first time, I revealed to her this secret that's been plaguing me. I think I was 12. He was in his underwear. Then she stopped writing with her pen and she looked at me, and that sort of scared me. He wrapped his body around me. I'm not gonna say the rest. But I knew it was real. Like, it wasn't some sort of fantasy I made up, because I thought about it all the time. Like when I was in high school in geoscience class, why would a young girl fill her head with thoughts like that when in that moment I could have thought about frickin' rocks? I took AP psychology in high school, and they taught us about false memories. And I thought, whoa, that's perfect. This thing that I hate, that could ruin my life, it's false. That's a great way to lie to yourself for a lot of years. And after I saw the look on her face, it felt more real, which in retrospect, that's fucked up. Like, aren't you a therapist? Haven't you heard worse? I've had bad therapists. Like, I went to this man and I said, hey, I was molested. And he was like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's like, what are you doing in there? You're just uncomfortable, or are you rubbing one out? Because I can't tell which one's worse. I never like hated the gorilla, because like I was too exhausted to hate, and I used to thank the universe for his departure so he didn't have to clutter my skies with more tragedy. He left before I had time to process all the bad that he's done. And he left me with a deer, and the deer was deeply wounded, but she stayed. Although she started billing me this moral tab every time she made me dinner or came to one of my shows, you know? I want to pay off that moral tab. I want to make a lot of money one day and just settle the tab, because I want a mommy. Like, who doesn't want a mommy? Who doesn't want a mommy who gives them like little tiny fucking oat milks? Ooh, I think I have one actually. There she is. What, I'm lactose intolerant? You're right, that's not the weirdest part about this. The gorilla, he took security away from me. He made it hard for me to be intimate in ways I shouldn't have struggled with. Like, I couldn't even touch myself without breaking down. He made it hard to love and feel, but I still had this entity whispering in my ear, like, don't jump, your wings, they're too good, your feathers, they're too bold, you gotta stick around for the good things, like the pandemic and the depression and Brooklyn landlords stealing your money, please, it's worth it. For as long as I could remember, I'd rearrange my room like every other week, and I thought, wow, I have an interest in interior design. Turns out I just had zero interest in acknowledging my OCD. So one day, I decided I wanted my bed to be a loft. And the gorilla never finished projects in our house. Like, he always promised us this tree house. We had all the extra wood and tools for it, but he never picked them up once. And we even had a perfect tree in the backyard for it. So I wrote on a piece of copy paper with a marker, notice of building due date, the gorilla must have Kylie Vincent's bed aloft or will result in fine. The gorilla was amused by this. The deer and gazelle looked at me as if I could walk on water. I think he was keeping score of the times I intimidated him. I knew I was, in fear I was becoming a version of him. We're white trash. We'd go camping on the beach, and then we'd break out all our metal detectors and search for treasure. You know, family bonding. Then the gorilla, his version of a playhouse was him digging a hole in the sand and then being like, play in your hole. And me and my sister, we fucking love this hole. we played in that hole, and then we'd go, and then we'd come back, and there'd be other children playing in our hole, and be like, get the fuck out of our hole. About a week before the deer kicked the gorilla out, I remember crying to her, "He doesn't love me anymore." I thought it was maybe the moment he displayed zero love in his heart for his children that the deer just dared to end it all. Turns out, it was the same week she found out he was sleeping with her cousin. Oh, that's fucked up. That's like what people in Alabama do. Ooh, I black out a lot. Makes me sad to know I've lost so many moments. Well, I know it was my brain just protecting me, but my body has been really unkind to me. So I have to be thankful for my brain's protective nature, but all these years of harboring so much stress and trauma just resulted in this physical illness, this autoimmune disease. And I'm in chronic pain, and I have panic attacks, blah, 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 but like at a certain point, you're just thankful that you're here. And you can disassociate if you want. I also, this year, I got diagnosed with bipolar, and when they told me, I thought, whoa, not me. Then I asked my boyfriend, I said, did you know about this? And he's like, that tracks. Can you guys even tell? Or? So when I was about 5, I ran around like a crazy person. I flew all over things. Like this particular day's adventure was a dresser, and I scaled this 200-pound piece of furniture, and then suddenly I found it crashing down on me, pressing into my organs. And the gorilla came in as soon as he heard the 5-year-old's worst enemy come down on me. And I'll never forget what he did next. He first lifted the dresser, then he lifted me, then he smacked me, and then he brought me in for a hug. I was never able to articulate how complicated my parents are until I remembered that moment. Because like I love them and they love me, they had a different way of showing it. The deer, she got a boyfriend my junior year of high school. He was an orangutan. He was in a Sublime cover band. The Sublime cover band's name was Emelbus, which is sublime backwards. They love to party. Oh, wake up! Mommy wants to sing you a little karaoke song. Oh, I'm actually trying to sleep because I have high school tomorrow. But you're so mean. I just wanted to sing you, I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. Oh, it's like bargaining with a toddler who was expected to sign off on my high school syllabus. I felt numb. So I told my best friend that year, I cannot do this anymore. Then she said I had a home with them, so I moved in with her and her family, and it was nice. Like, have you ever lived with anyone that isn't your family? It's super great, but it's also like, I'm kind of a burden. Maybe I learned to fly from her. Now I live with my boyfriend, and it's great because he's also a burden. He makes me feel so ridiculously loved and safe, and I didn't know I could feel that. That's what we got into a fight tonight. Well, maybe it wasn't even a fight now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I made it up all in my head. He's also like a bird, but a different bird. Like, I'm a hawk, and he's like a seagull. He doesn't really have prey, definitely not a monkey. I was quarantined with him and his parents, and after we moved out, I was like, do you think they could hear us having sex all those months? And he was like, yeah, definitely. And I thought, oh my God, I feel so bad. Because now they know you're a bottom. Oh. His mom would say like every little thing that came to her mind. I was making pasta for lunch one day, and she goes, oh, that's a big lunch. And I said, oh, that's rude to say. Oh no, it's because I'm Jewish. And, oh no, it's because you have a bad personality. Also, like, why do we always do that as Jewish people? We say the worst thing about ourselves and say it's because we're Jewish. Oh, I'm so loud. It's because I'm Jewish. I'm like, please stop. They're going to hear us and find us again. Moms, am I right? When I was 13, the deer attempted, she failed though. I remember that moment, knowing what she tried to do, like no one had to tell me. It was kind of like sex, like I always just kind of knew. Except for oral sex, that was weird. Like, I went to a birthday in middle school and they were all making jerseys, and I requested my number to be 69. And I got in huge trouble, but I just thought it was like a funny number, except the deer told me what it meant, and I felt all pukey, but she said it like, it's when two people peck each other's genitals. Maybe that's why I found it disgusting. Like, what a horrible way to describe it. But also, like, at that age, it is disgusting. I remember when I was 13, my sister told me she sucked her boyfriend's dick, and I was like, I can't look at you for a full week. Why would you put yourself through that? And then a year later, I sucked my first dick. And I remember looking at it for a really long time and just, like, imagining it being in my mouth. It's like, oh my God, wow, I'm so original for putting a dick in my mouth. And then I did it, and it wasn't like good or bad. It was just like a dick in my mouth, you know? I was born in 2000, so yeah. 9/11, mass shootings, pandemic, climate crisis. Like, isn't it safe to say we're all fucked up? I was in high school when the Parkland mass shooting happened, and I did the walkout that they called for gun control movement at my school, and I remember I went back to my class, it was my history class, and my teacher, he looked like Santa Claus, and he had just like the biggest heart. He took me outside and he asked me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I just feel really emotional from the rally. And he was like, yes, but I'm talking about the fact that you moved out of your mom's at 17. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, thanks. Oh, it's a fucked up thing. It really is, right? Because it's like, it makes you think, will I ever have kids? Like, to have a little you, to have a family, but what if I fuck up? Like, what if I become the gorilla? That's the most terrifying. You ever use the word cunt? No. Yeah, me either. I remember the first time I used the word cunt. Wouldn't surprise you that I, being a Gen Z piece of shit, did it over Facebook Messenger. The deer's cousin, you know, the father fucker. I remember just like typing out what a horrible and miserable person she was, and then it got away from me. Like, I typed out cunt like it was my name, like it was so natural. And it didn't really do much, except for me. It made me feel like I was on cocaine. I've never done cocaine. I don't need to, because I've called my mom's cousin a cunt. The whole situation was so fucked up. Like, it was happening around the time the deer's father was dying. So I remember at his memorial party, by the way, I don't regret calling the deer's cousin a cunt, because she is a cunt. She's literally like a fucking snake, you know? I walked in to the kitchen at this memorial party, and it was the gorilla and the snake, and they were probably talking about how much they wanted to ram each other while people were crying about my dead grandpa. I don't know, I'm just in here to get some cheese. I never saw the gorilla as like one person, because he was the dad I grew up with and I loved. He was the man who gave me nightmares. He was the dad who left and abandoned us, and he was the dad I still wanted. That's complicated. It makes you feel guilty for wanting a dad, especially that dad. I thought for years, like, I was the only fucked up one in suburban utopia, and I grew up with 3 other girls from the time I was 5, and I still talk to them today, but like, they have these big houses, parents still together, money to do things. I felt like that kid. And then in high school, all these things came to the surface. Like, one friend was struggling with an eating disorder, one's dad was a violent drunk, one was contemplating suicide. I was like, I don't feel relieved like I thought I would. I don't feel equal. I feel like I'm winning. It's just like horrible watching the kid you grew up with. They're happy from something as simple as a scooter, and then you can't even look at them in class because their bones are sticking out of their skin. Wow, that's the moment I realized everyone is fucked up. Everyone's got their shit. So when I first moved to New York City, I got into stand-up, and before that, I had never seen myself as like a woman or queer, someone who was oppressed. And then I entered the stand-up world, and it was just like, I'm a woman. Started out by like, with nights of me bombing and not knowing why, and it was at first, it was because I sucked, but then it's just like, there's this sense of respect throughout the room. Like I was told I couldn't talk about sex stories in a vulgar way, because then the men who wanted to fuck me would be turned off, and then they'd stop listening. So that's what tonight was all about. I was at this show, and I was doing some hot incest jokes. It wasn't even about me. It was just like, okay, I'll just do them for you guys. Whoa, isn't it weird that we don't talk about incest? 1 in 5 women experience incest. But wouldn't it be weirder if we talked about it? Like what if there was a bunch of dads at a bar watching football, and one's like, all right, fellas, I gotta get going. I gotta go make this I wanna fuck my daughter meeting. And they're all like, I was gonna make that one, but yeah, it's a tough bit. But then this man came up after me, and he used 1 minute of his time to say how privileged I was. And of course, I was like one of 2 women comics in the room, and I was powerless. Like, I couldn't say a damn thing, because he had the microphone, and like, men always have the fucking microphone. And so I used my best poker face, and I walked out showing no emotion, and then my boyfriend ran after me, and I was like, get away, I'm a big bird, I don't want those people in there to think that I'm some fucking loser crying about this guy, and he was like, blah, blah, blah. And he said this ignorant thing, and it was like so stupid, and he didn't mean it, but it was just, gave me a window of how preciously ignorant men are allowed to be. Because I've had nights where like I've been followed out after sets, drunken men proclaim that they'll rape me. I have to kick fucking men off my leg before I go do a set, and now I own a taser, which is helpful. But I feel like a badass, you know? because I love being in that environment. I am around all of these guys who have each other, and then I sort of have no one. Because then you have to start not to care what people think, and that frees you. Because I'm not taking care of myself for Sam, who said I look better with longer hair. I'm not working my ass off for the Brooklyn landlord who called me spoiled when I demanded my deposit back. I'm not doing this and that, and I'm not accomplishing my dreams for the gorilla or fucking whoever, because I want to live, and I want to love, and I want to create, and I want to love people, and I feel like you have to want it in order to have it. All this oat milk has made me very sleepy. And a bit hungry. Good night.
Yeah.